Okay, so we are once again here, and we're gonna talk about the recent ban list as well as some incidents surrounding it, I suppose.
Hi, I'm Apples.
All right,
Want to introduce yourself?
bro, it's on my channel. What the fuck am I introducing myself for?
No, geese.
I
True.
introduced myself. I think I did a pretty good job.
All right,
Oh my gosh.
all right, we're good. So, this was what the final stream, right? After the finals, before they showed us the ban list, they showed us the six cards here on screen. All of them are box toppers for was it BT25 or BT26? I know one of them.
25 Dual Revolution.
Okay, so yeah, and as you can see, these are all reprints of cards that are at one copy. These arts are amazing, but the fact they got reprinted, at least for me, was kind of concerning.
Yeah, as I discussed with Lols, their reprint and acknowledgement of saying, oh, limited cards are getting reprinted probably means they're not coming off the restricted list anytime soon.
And I feel like this is okay for four of them, but two of them are definitely like, what are you doing? I think this does go without saying because we've had a lot of people over the past few months complaining about these cards, especially because HPD, Blinding Ray, and Gravity Crush as well have been getting used in Hootie since Hootie does have the capability to just have those colors available, Tamer or Digimon wise.
Yeah, Huddy is always green and yellow, so it will just activate them by controlling Huddymon. I don't remember what it uses to enable purple, though. I think it's
No,
Teachermon?
no. They don't really use calling. They actually use Gotsumon, their searcher, for the red though for Gravity Crush.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought they had to use purple for calling. It's not like that deck could actually use calling.
The only thing they would be getting back is the beta, which is their recovery card anyway. So, but yeah. This is like one of the most frustrating things to look at because these arts are like really amazing. I particularly like the ice wall. I really think Hexaball is cool and shit. The blinding ray is also just it's cool in a community way because it's like okay, it's referencing the original art and the alt art as well, and then also referencing what it was actually being used for. But the zero cost memory options are something that have proven themselves to be way too much in the modern game, and yet we're stuck with them.
I personally am not a fan of Kudamon. I would prefer the art to be solely Magnamon X. Sorry to any Kudamon fans, but he was just cooler.
Oh, I mean, it's funny, right? Because it's like Kudamon is a yellow vaccine piece, like the BT13 one, right?
Yeah, it's
And
always been
that
a
was
vaccine
one
Digimon.
of your usable lower ends in the yellow base Magnamon X deck.
Yeah. So
Compared to option cards, the two other Digimon on this list are like not as bad. Like they're very specific in their roles.
yeah, so with Argomon as the fucking leopard X glazer that actually uses this card and a bunch of the plant stuff, I think there's potential for it to maybe be at like two or something. I'm a little concerned about this or Blossomon like going to four, just because there are instances you can evo up the line and just be at six at a position that you probably shouldn't be, but it's also becoming less and less of a concern given what a lot of decks are capable of currently. So kind of
Yeah, like
depends on the
PS
landscape of the
Abyss will
game.
just put you at put themselves at -10, and then say, "All right, out my field."
Perhaps.
I think one of the main issues for at least like the Argo and Blossom were that once you started actually getting rolling with the plant-based decks, you usually start playing out like level threes and level fours. And if you play out a level four, you can immediately for free digivolve that one into the level five Argo or Blossom, which then just gets you, access to another Bloom Lord or whatever.
Argo isn't a plant or a fairy, right?
It's not, but it's a free Evo that synergizes with your deck, right?
Yeah, like as long as you evolve on Argo, then it's fine to play like Bloomlord, but he himself does not count for like your memory gain. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But it's like fine anyway. Because like so, for example, right? I brought I brought Leopard to locals twice. The first time I wasn't using the Imperial, I mean not the Imperial stuff, the Exo stuff, because I was getting it from people at locals, and I just was like, fuck it, I don't want to re-sleeve or whatever, right? There was a game that I went the Sunflow that plays out Togemon, I suspended the Sunflowmon actually to go into the Argo on top of it. And then I went up into Leopard. I tapped the Togemon to play out a Tamer. I used the Leopard to play out another Togemon. I used Blossomon that I drew into there, and I just ended up being able to like DNA and OTK them from like a level 4. So, it, like Digisorption's a broken mechanic. We haven't gotten new Digisorption cards for a reason.
I think everybody agrees that the option cards should never go back above 1.
Yeah.
I also think some of them should be at 0, but Bandai is not very keen on banning cards.
And that's kind of like the issue when we actually move forward to the list, right?
Yeah. Like, the only time they ever ban something is because it will remain a loop even at 1 copy.
Now, I think we should first... Should we talk about what we think their general ban or design philosophy is around this? Because it might help.
I think so. So that's actually what I was kind of struggling over the past couple of days. I was trying to think about how best to talk about this. Bandai has made it very clear, or I'm saying Bandai, but we don't really know who specifically is like presiding over the list.
John right? Bandai.
But
the design team or whatever.
Yeah, the design team or whatever, they've made it very clear that they are very remiss to do a couple of things. One is hit high rarity cards, because we can objectively look at the history of the game and the gameplay loops that have erupted and say that Shine Ruin Mode specifically is a card that does so much more to make stifling and restrictive game states than anything else, and they always hit around it rather than touching it. When we look at limits, a lot of the limits are really light-handed, and I would argue to some degree platitudes. We can look back to last year when they hit the Stingmon. It made sense in the context of like Asia is best of 1, and you have a lot of decks that are built for best of 1, and that card specifically does promote absurd consistency in that kind of format. So like the hit made sense, but when you also look at Imperial in the macro scale, it's like there's a bunch of things that deck was doing at the time that made it really obtuse, and you could have hit a number of them without making the deck like too weak to compete. It still would have been tier 1. And even looking at this list, Shakomon does serve a good purpose of dialing back against Hootie being able to do the loop, because that's removing an egregious, obtuse gameplay dynamic to some degree. To some degree, because you can still recycle the thing. But
can you recycle it from trash?
Yes, the Madoki beta or beta, whatever it is, the purple blue level 3 just adds back. Yeah, so it can be recycled. But the thing that I've been arguing about Hootie from the onset is if they're going to do a restriction, it probably needs to be something with the Tamers. And the biggest component of that is if you toss down, what's his face? Kisuke.
Kisuke?
Yeah, you can get down Erica before your turn ends. You can end your turn. Oh, actually, no, he does it at the end of turn. But either way, you get to like bounce a level 3 back to get Erica out, and then Erica can toss that level 3 into your raising area. So
is
the
Erica
bigger,
on play?
Huh?
Is Erica on play or at the end of your turn? Because if she's at end of turn, that doesn't work.
I have to double check. Let me pull it up. Okay, yeah, so she is end of your turn. Where is Kisuke?
Kisuke is also end of turn, so technically you can't go Kisuke, play Erica, and then Erica instantly play.
Yeah.
You have to wait one more turn for that.
Okay, yeah, so I mean, even with that is fine. It's just that it would set you up into a position where you can shunt a rookie back, and the deck ends up not really having much downtime with its aggression when it's basically like a rookie rush deck almost. So, sure, you do get rid of the more obtuse thing that happens, but Hootie, if you restricted Kisuke and Erica, like you can't run both of them in the same deck, you still, or even do a restriction between her and Chitose instead maybe, you force the deck to have to be built differently without actually making it too weak to compete. But for whatever reason, we get hits like this.
So with Keisuke and Erica, you kind of operate at the same promote speed as Deva and Ukomon, but unlike other decks where they say, oh, you can play Digimon into your raising, Terriermon, Palmon, and I think there's one more. Is it Hagurimon?
Hagurumon.
Yeah, like they are essentially the important source effect to have in your raising. Unlike other decks where if you play a card, they don't have like a Digitama effect, and usually the Digitama effect is more important than like the actual card in the raising.
Being able to get the tamer out during your turn, and because like let's say they go first, right? They get Evo in the back, toss down Keyskate, and then on the next turn they Evo up the Hootie, and they just play down the Erica or whatever. Like in the process, you can end up in a situation just where now they have a inherent tempo advantage because of what their board state is, and even if they're sending back the rookies that they're playing at the end of their turn, they're still tossing down Gotsumon, getting a search with it, and then getting to put it in raising safely to evolve on it on the next turn if they need to go back into another level 4. You need to go back into Hootie or whatever. And that's, without even considering the fact that they can still use stuff like HBD and whatnot to further their game plan.
Well, limiting Shako is still like a very easy move to do. It prevents Huddy from instantly playing into like Angemon for another draw, and then after the attack ends, they'll just instantly DNA back up and then de-evolve for a +2 memory.
Yeah. Like for sure, it's a meaningful hit. It's just
probably just gotten additional hits, right?
Yeah, because like yeah, go ahead.
So since we were talking about what we think is behind their decisions to hit. We talked about they're reluctant to hit SRs.
Yeah.
But I think
SRs are a pretty fair game, actually.
I think
it's just secret rares.
I mean, I would agree that they're reluctant to hit SRs as well. They're really slow to do that, but secrets for sure.
Oh, like, are there any SRs on the list currently? I don't know.
Raj Galgamon.
Raj.
Okay, sure. I mean, I think that one was a pretty late hit as well, right?
For sure, yeah. Like, if
yeah, it did not get hit till like EX5. It even still gets played at 1, like in the BT20 format. I think Galaxy had 1 copy of it and it won.
Yeah, and the other thing with that is I think part of them hitting Mirage in the first place wasn't even because it was a really prevalent card, because it was a really prevalent card for a really long time. They hit it, I think, more so as a way to offset the looping that people were doing, and that clearly just wasn't the only way to do that. So
it's just always a really strong card because people don't like playing like high cost removal cards. Sure, cards like Gaia Force and Full Moon Meteor Impact exist, but paying 8 memory to remove 1 card where every other effect on it doesn't matter, like, you're just playing around the memory gain.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that one is a perfect example because they had so much reason to hit it before the point in which they did it. If they really just wanted to avoid hitting the Galaxy Lifeline Nightclaw stuff, but they didn't. They really didn't hit it until it hit a peak, and then even after it hit a peak, it was just like, okay.
God, I'm pretty sure this card lived to like BT16 and it released to BT11.
Yeah.
What I was trying to get at, I think the second thing that they seem to heavily put into consideration whenever they make lists, I think they are active. Well, I think it's pretty clear they actively try to, if any kind of loop is playable, they shoot it in the back, right?
Yeah.
Malomio was not really seeing.
That's our next topic on this list. Right. Malomyotismon.
Yeah, I was gonna lead into that as well, because like Mallow, I think, is the perfect example as well of like the looping thing, because not only is it something that the deck does not really do super consistently because of how many resources it needs to go into it, but it does like lead to really obtuse gameplay dynamics that you really don't want to have to engage with, and for that reason, I think this is a really good hit. It's just
I saw the Arukenimon engine get played in BT16 draft, and I was like, oh, that's pretty good. Like, you can just loop cards into your hand. I didn't imagine that in EX10, this card would just be printing infinite memory, but I guess that's to be expected when your card just says, play Malomyotismon if you're trash at no cost.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with the card being hit, right? It's more of the core problem of this list being, okay, you hit these cards. Probably each one of these cards has a justifiable reason for ending up on this list. But where is the rest of it? Why did this take priority?
Yeah, and then
Why
like
is that her? Why is that house burning down? But we're instead addressing Myotismon, who's bothering no one in a corner.
so the funny thing about this, right? Digidane actually, I believe, got top 8 with Myotis, and the funny fucking thing about it is, I remember seeing his list on Twitter. I just haven't seen it like archived anywhere, so I wasn't able to double check it because I wanted to pull it up for this. I am pretty sure he was only running one of this. Like he was, I think he was playing one of this. I might be misremembering. If anybody knows, feel free to correct me.
It might be the altar, and you just didn't like equate the two of them.
Well, I know he was playing the like more mid range build, like so it wasn't focused on doing this. Is the thing. And that's something he's talked about before, so it's just kind of funny. The people who are topping with it didn't even really care about doing the loop because having the non-deletion
infinite memory.
I mean, yeah, but like having the non-deletion removal and everything that Myotis does is actually really strong. If you're playing into that and you're meaningfully engaging with your opponent, it's really good. So like again, yeah, it's like a good hit, sure, but like you said, like where is everything else? Looking at Skull Bellucci, right? Because like you were trying to do the thing with
Asuna.
Yeah, doing the Evo at the start of turn timing, so your setter could put you back to 3. And it's like I've seen some people do it. I've seen people at my locals try it. It just seems like something that happens like you can build up to it, but I think a lot of games win.
Practical.
Yeah,
it's not that good. Like you still have a Digimon that can't swing unless you evolve it into the Titamon level 7, in which it gains Rush. But otherwise, like you just kind of have a level 6 that sits there and then looks pretty.
Yeah, like you're cycling cards to like not necessarily do anything. If you draw some stuff that's relevant, it's like okay, cool. I can make plays. Like I'm not even
do damage that turn.
I'm not even against this card getting hit because even back in BT, 11 was it 10 or 11 that this got printed? I forget.
It released in BT 10, but I don't think it was really doing anything for a long time.
I'm a dumbass. The fucking set code's on screen. But yeah, like even back in BT 10, there was like some interesting goofy stuff you could do with it. But the fact that you actually have to invest memory for it means that most of the contexts you're going to be using this card in anyway are like very specific game state. I need to extend further to be able to engage my opponent, or so I don't lose right now, or whatever. And I can't do that unless I discard this card. So, but I also can see like it can be really egregious because if we're looking at Titan as an example, maybe we're going to get something in the future, especially considering Plutomon in the zombie form. So like that's fine. It just that this hit is the most bewildering thing about the list purely because like why did you prioritize this when there's so many things to look at?
This has to be a preemptive hit for Plutomon Undead. Well, not undead, but zombie form, which should have the undead trait. As far as I know, no dark animal list runs Skull Bellucci-mon.
Like, I mean, you can run it in what have I been playing? Fucking Grand Drag. Yeah, but like, dog, you have so few cards that are actually worth going into that this thing often just sits in your hand because you have no good reason to pitch it.
Yeah, and like even at 1, as long as you see it, you can keep recycling it with the purple scramble. So it's kind of you see it, you keep using it. If you don't see it, it's not the end of the world. For TS Titan right now, because this card's at 1, it probably means you can't go into a level 5 off your effects anymore unless you have the source.
So it restricts where like how you can sequence your stuff, but I think that's probably fine anyway because at least in my experience, the Titan lists that were performing well wanted to be in that position anyway. So whatever. So about them dogs.
If I'm allowed to complain about Doberman X first, this card triggers discard and when you play a Digimon because you're building up a deck that does both things at the same time. One of the most famous looking dogs is Anubis, which discards and plays. So you're getting memory off the whole line, no matter what level 3 and level 4 you use. Mm-hmm. You don't even really need Protoform. This card evolves for 2 for no goddamn reason. Protoform into this thing for 1 memory is like an actual sin.
I genuinely thought that like if they were gonna do a hit, they'd do a choice restriction between Protoform and both these cards before anything, so I'm a little surprised they didn't do that. Application has with this package in particular, just definitely exceeded what it should be doing, and I think it's extra goofy because it's just like the general go-to package if you see a competitive purple deck. Because you look at Lilith, you look at Levia. There's a third thing I'm blanking on right now, and of course Anubis when it was back at
Lord
4.
Knight.
Yes, there we go, Lord Knight. So you look at those 4 decks, and they basically had the exact same core, and the only difference is like sometimes you would see Lord Knight using Shaomon because if they're expecting to persist on their top and they're like, okay, I'm going to be consistently playing out cards, maybe it's more valuable in a long game for me to draw passively like this instead of having to actively discard or whatever, which is like fine. But this package is carrying purple in a way that makes it really, really difficult to use anything else. Even the archetypical stuff that they come out with, a lot of the time, you're just going to be shoving it in together. Like, sure, Grand Drac doesn't have a choice, really, because you don't really have much in the way of Undead and Dark Animal. But even if you did have a choice and this wasn't Undead and Dark Animal, you'd probably still be running these cards.
Oh no, I've discarded a card. Let me just draw 2 and gain 2 memory.
It's pretty good. That's like a general purple design problem. Too many of purple decks are just okay. You get to interact with the graveyard in a certain way, right? You get trash recursion in some kind of way, but if you don't get a particular restriction on how you have to interact with the trash, you will always default to the best draw discard engine. Because that's the best way to be getting what you need in the bin.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean,
so
that's actually one thing I like about the Grand Drac support, because like K is like, yo, you can only go in 205. Like, you need to think about what you're doing. It still got abused, but hey, at least there was like attempt to
still purple.
At least there was some attempt to force you to like do something different in how you're engaging. But yeah, thoughts on Sunrise Buster?
This card got hit back in BT10 due to Crossheart having primarily red and yellow cards. You had Taiki, Shoutmon, Darulumon, and Akari. It doesn't really work with Zenjiro. However, because people just ran like 2 copies of this card, it just blew your opponent out. Nothing could survive all that DP minus, especially when you play Akari off the effect.
I still think that that the people that like playing like cross 4, cross 5, cross 3, like that kind of style of Crossheart will still like this card.
Yeah,
for sure.
So that's neat. They have a new toy.
Old like Sakuyamon maiden mode decks can still reuse this card. They'll just put it into security.
I think the funniest thing about that, because I saw people immediately being like, "Oh, this card got hit for Sakuya," and I'm like, it actually didn't. If you played in BT9 and BT10, the deck that was using it, they were using Maid mode, but it was literally yellow hybrid going into Maid mode.
Like, wasn't like for that part of. I think Sakuya at that time had like still a little bit more restrictions on what the color requirements for the options were sometimes an issue, right? So Sunrise wasn't always like the default because of that.
Yeah, you couldn't just use it. The Sakuyas we had from EX2 and whatnot. Actually, that might have been the only. No, because we did have some old ones. But yeah, the Sakuya from EX2 and all that stuff were still very focused on plugins. So the only one that was able to use it was the Maid mode we got in BT10. But then, like, people are literally just like, oh, okay, you're running the yellow hybrid deck. We're running that like Digiburst Shine that can play out Tamers, and then we're gonna like Sunrise Buster you twice. Cause like, why not, bro?
I mean,
some people call it yellow hybrid. Some people call it security control. I call it open Gigimon, play yellow Tamer, go.
Fair enough. I think this card is probably fine. Like, sure, it might get run in the new Shine deck, but the new Shine deck already has lines that can like blow you out of the water anyway. I don't think this card is gonna like be a negative impact. If anything,
Yeah, the Shine deck. The Shine deck really doesn't play option cards. It plays maybe one to be funny. It's the BT12 option card, I believe, that plays a Marcus and lets it attack immediately.
I am blanking on. I know what card you're talking about. I'm blanking on the name though.
Yeah, it's the one. It's a anime screenshot of him punching Agumon, like they're having a cross counter. That card is actually not that bad.
BT21.
Like, isn't
that card is actually pretty good. Like, you can play it, and then it'll just get you like a memory setter that attacks unsuspended Digimon, and you're effectively like 15k.
Yeah, I mean, so for this card, I think this existing in the format also is fine for the Shine deck because, like, as I've always been an advocate of, I think we should be running options that let us fucking engage with the opponent in some way. We should be running removal, and this is like a cheap enough removal. It's just I'm not expecting the deck to run it until it gets hit or something because why are they gonna bother when they can just OTK you?
Well, this
not
card
just that,
cost
but
is-
specifically for removal options, Shine Gray now has the starter deck Shine Gray, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
like for the same
So-
cost, now I can play Geo Gray Sword, which actually I believe does the same amount of DP minus.
It does -6 pop a 7 or -7 pop a 6.
We can check it in a minute because we have that on the next slide.
-6 pop a 7.
Well, assuming that you can use the one Digivolving. Like, you could evolve in the back, and they'll just do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think that card's fine. I'm personally fine with the mock. I'm like, this card getting hit in the first place was like, okay, and
This card got hit for a reason that probably were not justifiable. Regardless, this card got restricted. It wasn't exactly clear why, other than it being more flexible than the other mock Galgamons.
I think they gave some reasoning along the lines of having something to do with Mirage being really heavy pressure or whatever, but that was largely a consequence of the memory effect being used
Likely,
more efficiently
yeah.
to end people's turns. And going into, was it, I think BT15, they had the jamming Bukamon or whatever that they were also putting to one.
Mhm.
So it's like,
Yep.
BT14, they got
okay, so yeah, it just feels like they hit this card preemptively because they decided to let us keep the Digitama at 4 copies for a set instead of pre-restricting it. But it's like, putting this thing to 1 didn't really do a whole lot to inhibit the deck from doing what it was doing anyway. It's like,
So the funny thing is that EX4 releases after BT11 because our sets would have been BT11, BT Starter Deck 14, BT12, then EX4.
yeah.
So Mirage Galgamon was already at 4 when this card released, and they made an entire line that just says, "Oh, when your opponent adds a card to hand, you gain a memory." Thus, now you have this Galmon and Galgamon that gets +2 memory if Mock Galgamon is able to bounce. And even if you don't bounce on level 5 Evo, you'll just bounce on the level 6 Evo.
Yeah, it's so strange actually thinking back on it because they could have also just not put the memory gain on those inheritables and it would have been fine to keep BT11 likely because sure it's making itself cost 2 instead of 4, but it's like whatever, dog. It's like okay, they still paid like 5 to get here. Thumbs
Yeah,
up.
and the other thing is that after this set, we ended up getting training cards, so it's also probably well pushed over the top.
So
Since
not
you
just
could-
that. After that card got banned, we also got the Nightclaw Gauga.
Yeah.
That was BT16.
Oh no, that's way too far in the future.
Well, no, I
think,
feel like that's not too far because we were aware of it because we still had the split, right? Like we were looking and like, oh, okay, like this is crazy. Looking forward to this. You crack the training, Evo for 0, gain a memory. That's kind of dumb.
No, that's still too far from where I'm thinking. Like, this is in BT12/EX4. We knew trainings were on the horizon. They come after BT13. So this card living until that point where it's like, all right, well, now I'll just go mental training into this Mock Galgamon. Even if it doesn't gain a memory now, I only spent 1 memory to evolve into it from a level 4 that I could have made in Raising. Or I just make Mock Galgamon in the back, and then I go mental training, crack, go into Mirage Galgamon. I'll gain 2 memory on top of it costing 2 memory. Potentially, I'll just gain 3 if you have 12 cards in hand. And so I'll just be positive on memory gain.
I mean, yeah, for sure. But it's just like at that point, doesn't it make sense to hit the fucking memory gaining rookies?
Well, they didn't do it yet, so
I mean, I know. I'm just saying, like based off the explanation, like of what we were doing, right? It just makes more sense when you think about it like that.
BT13.
I'm just saying, it just makes more sense to hit a completely different card when you actually break down what the deck was doing.
Yeah, like nobody really understands why this card got restricted. And even if you could give like a proper explanation, I think the most sound one is just because it's more flexible than the other mock Galgamons around it.
Yeah, like if they just said that straight up, it'd be like, oh, okay, like I may not agree with that. I'm well, maybe not that I don't agree with it, but like I may not think that's a strong enough reason. Is what I meant by that. But
yeah, but at least they'd be transparent, right?
Yeah, like
Instead
at least
saying,
you're being transparent, and I can see where you're coming from.
Instead of giving me a reason that says like, oh, this card has overperformed in the current environment, and thus we think it is too powerful. Like, this doesn't tell me shit.
And that's also just like my consistent issue with a lot of with what they say with the ban list. I think like the reason they gave for Shaco and Mallow was fine. Them saying future reasons for Skull Belushi is fine as well. But even though I understand that Dober and Serb needed to go, and I don't have a problem with them being on the list, the explanations they gave felt like really bad platitudes.
So every time an explanation says, this card restricts future design, but then if you limit it, that just means if I draw it, I do the thing that you were trying not to promote. So why is this card not at 0 instead, and then you just never take it off the list? Is it because banned cards look worse?
You can have that for like I don't think that's necessarily too big of a problem, right? Like if you hit a level 5 because it enabled an OTK too well, and you say,
no, that's
okay,
not the reasoning they're giving.
No, but like that's for example for Doro Gray or whatever, right? Like they're saying it limits future design space partially because it's too good at likely putting pressure on your opponent, right? If you take away the consistency of doing that, it kind of obviously it sucks when sacks happen, but like it's not the end of the world. But I don't know. Often you get that, and then they just never design cards for that archetype ever again.
Yes.
See,
like,
it's
that
possible.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go.
It's possible that Doru Greymon was hit way back in BT9 because it could tuck or Umon, and then they were going to release Protoform in EX5, so you could go into like any Alphamon for a cost of 2, tucking Dorumon for a cost of 1.
Get out of here.
I mean,
like,
okay.
And then you'll just go, or you can for 3, and then you'll gain back all that memory, right?
So I just want to
potentially restricting future design.
I just want to point out here, a lot of the time, card games are designed like 8 months in advance. Like they're like whatever set we get right now, they are like 8 months ahead.
Yeah.
Like that's what I learned from my time, like talking to people who are in like the sphere of working in R&D and stuff like that, and then also just looking into shit because I thought it's interesting to me. So very unlikely, but
the time span between releases are way over 8 months.
I mean, but with what Geese was saying, that's like my frustration because you like I can understand not necessarily wanting to directly support Alpha again, like right after that because it was dominant in that meta. If we go back to BT7, it was a progressive build-up. People had been trying to make the BT6 Alpha work. And there was a lot of stuff that you were able to do with the deck. And I mean, even now, there's some stuff you can do with the deck. But the deck has been floundering because when you gave it support in BT13, it was 2 vanillas, a level 5 that's like okay at best, and then a level 6 that is like, also okay at best and got worse over time just because of like aces and shit.
Yeah.
The BT13 Doru Greymon is cosplaying as BT7 protection, and it has an end of turn effect that's meant to work with Oryuken. So you can plug a card and then instantly return it for memory.
I don't know. It's like, I genuinely think it does happen too many times that they decide to hit an archetype in which they say, like, we do this for future design space. And then they just kind of basically never come back to the archetype. What's it? Like, from the BT9 era, okay, support for Alphamon as it was stopped since BT13. Grandis Kuwagamon. We haven't seen another one of those for like its own deck for like a million years or whatever.
Yeah, they
I just
limited.
think they don't
Another
have
different deck.
like a theme to tie it to right now.
I don't think that's the problem
Well,
because we can clearly look at the sets and like you as the fucking Greymon and Omnimon Glazer, you keep getting shit, right? And I'm not even
Yeah,
saying
I
this out
don't
of
like
like
those cards either.
fair. I mean, I'm also not saying this out of frustration. It's just like genuinely we sit here and it's like we are getting support for like the same handful of things. Like one thing I did really like when they said they were shifting design in BT14, despite the fact like we know that was kind of a mistake, they supported like four great dragons and they actually gave them cards that allow that deck to function really competently now. Like I think to this day you can probably take that shit to a regional and perform well with it. But that was also the only instance of support it got. It hasn't gotten anything else again since then.
yeah, most. I think a large problem with current design is the set design uh, entirely focusing around a single property, and not like okay, yeah, BT10 was cross heart, like was cross wars as is set, right? But I still think we had a little bit more wiggle room in that set in comparison to now the almost five main sets in a row that are based off of a game, right?
Yeah, and we can look at oh god, I immediately lost my train of thought. What was I? We can look at the EX sets, right? Because we have EX9 with the DM trait, and it's like you have a whole bunch of stuff you can do with the DM trait, and they can coalesce into each other, but you also have all these clearly defined themes you can build into. And incidentally, it ends up being the set that breaks the trend if we're including side sets. But that's not what they're doing with the core sets. It's like so focused on just the trait. And again, me bringing up Grand Drac. Grand Drac is something that kind of gets clowned on because it understandably doesn't really work a whole lot of. I don't know why I'm fumbling with my words. Grand Drac doesn't work super well with the CS stuff because it doesn't play out CS bodies. So they wanted to make it more restrictive, which is fine. But then they aren't making cards in the set that work with it really beyond its line.
Yeah,
As
it
a
just makes
Greymon enjoyer, my favorite past set has been EX10, and that wave has boiled down to two cards.
I mean, hey, at least some of the random Greymon cards in the past couple of core sets do have utility. You be a little
Yeah,
funny
in
with them.
draft.
I don't know. I was playing with the Geo Greymon and the new Virus Metal Gray. Those cards are just good. They're actually just
Yeah,
good.
like they give blocker, so if you play Rowdy Rocker, you can put it under Mother Reaper.
That's crazy. That's a crazy statement. It's true.
It's crazy because it's literally just a banned deck.
That it's kind of funny, but oh my god, dude. I mean, you can also, but genuinely, the Metal Gray is actually good. Like, oh, you got a level 6. I pop out on the board. I can block you if you swing again, and you'll die. Kind of nice.